Unfortunately, looks matter way more than society says it does. Again, looks matter way more than society lets on. It matters way more than men say it does. It matters way more than women say it does. And I'm just the messenger. If you don't like the message, oh well. This is about a space of empowerment and truth. This is not a video to hate on women or bash women. Women are not the enemy. They are our counterparts and we are their counterparts. But I have an obligation to get on here and tell the truth, you know, because the only way you can get better, the only way you can rise is when you know the truth. You can't do that when you're living in a lie. So let's jump right into it again. Looks matter way more than society says it does. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. I wish it wasn't like that, but that's just the way it is. And the number one reason most men are struggling with dating in 2026 is because they don't want to accept, or even worse, they don't know that this is the truth. They either don't want to accept this is truth or they don't know this is the truth. But that's why dating is so hard for so many men in 2026. Let's think about it for a second. This is not a man thing or a woman thing. It's just human nature to be drawn to aesthetically pleasing things. You know, we like aesthetically pleasing cars. We like aesthetically pleasing houses, houses that look nice. We like things that look nice. We like nice looking clothes. We even take pictures of food before we eat it and post it to social media. Why? Because the food looks good. The presentation is nice, right? But you want to say humans are different. We don't care about how humans look, their presentation, their appearance. Okay. Um, Unfortunately, that's just the truth. But society tries to, I want to say, give everyone equal footing, especially in youth. So we try and tell everyone that looks doesn't matter at all. It's all personality, it's what's on the inside that counts. And it's not that that's a lie, but that's just a half truth. It's not the full truth. And you're putting maybe the second at best important thing, and you're trying to put it in place of the first thing, the thing that's most important. And that's going to set so many people, especially men, up for failure later on in life. When reality starts slapping them over and over and over again, they're going to be questioning, I thought it's what's inside that counts, right? I know how many of you have thought that, you know, and that's just how it works. That's just the truth, unfortunately. You know, there are studies out there. If you don't want to take my word for it, go and look. Women swipe on dating apps. They swipe right less than 10% of the time. Do you know how baffling that is? That means they find the majority of men on those apps and in general as unattractive. Most women find most men unattractive. That's the damn truth. And unless you live under a rock, if you use TikTok, if you use IG, if you use YouTube, even just sparingly, you're going to come across, some content like this. There's a reason why stuff like looks maxing or the black pill or the red pill or whatever, you know, really has gone mainstream and really gained a lot of popularity over the last 4 or 5 years, because men are starting to see, maybe what we've been doing isn't working. And this is why, a lot of men are lost and they're finding those spaces. And then they're seeing that they're actually getting results when they start implementing what those spaces teach them into their lives, and they start getting results in their dating lives. But the point I'm making is that most women do find most men unattractive. Even a while ago, there was something called like a chopped man epidemic or whatever, you know, or AKA most men are unattractive. There was literally, maybe it was in jest, but there is truth in jest. There was a trend on TikTok a while ago of, where are all the attractive men? That's really how most women feel, whether they say it to you or not. That's just the truth. Society tries to downplay it because no one wants to look shallow. If you ask someone, are they shallow? They're going to say, no, not me. It's the next person. Nah, not me. It's the next person. So no one is shallow, right? But it's not shallow to want an attractive partner. There is nothing wrong with a man who says, I want a woman who I physically desire who, she gives from that primal urge, those primal instincts, who he is attracted to. And likewise, there is nothing wrong with a woman who wants to be with a man who she physically desires, who turns her on, who activates those primal urges, you know. But the issue is when we lie about it and say looks don't matter. And then even worse, some people say looks don't matter at all. It's like you're setting people up for failure. So, how do you combat this? That's why I'm a huge advocate of always looking presentable no matter where you go. I'm not saying you have to dress to the nines, no, but you need to be taking care of yourself, bro. Don't step out the house looking like you haven't, got a lineup in 3, 4 months. Don't step out the crib, your clothes wrinkled and stained. If you're overweight, lose the weight, please. Please get in the gym, you know work on your grooming, work on your fashion. You know, if you have to do some things here and there, that's cool. I'm not advocating like going super duper crazy. Some people, we hear stuff like limb lengthening surgeries, all of that. I'm not saying you need to do all of that. If you're free to do whatever you want, but if you're gonna, go down the route of really extreme measures, I would highly suggest talking to a doctor first. But there are so many things that a lot of men can do, little things in their everyday life that will boost their attraction over time. Take care of your physical appearance, take care of your skin, take care of your hair, your grooming, make sure you're, a decent body weight. All these little things compound over time and they boost your attractiveness. I don't give a damn what your mom and dad told you. I don't give a damn what your friend told you, what your grandma, your auntie, your uncle, whoever. Looks matter. They matter a lot, bro. That's just the truth. The halo effect, it matters in the workplace. People will treat you better. You get more respect. That's just, unfortunately, that's just how it is, because as human beings, we tend to be drawn to naturally aesthetic, nice looking things. That's just how it works. Does not mean if you're not the most attractive guy, your dating life is going to, you're going to be doomed dating wise. No, but it is going to be harder. And that's just the truth. So please work on your looks, optimize them, improve them, and watch the payoff in your dating life. Two, personality does matter. Looks isn't everything. The irony of one and two, you know, you have men on one side who think looks don't matter, unfortunately. And then you have men on the other side of the spectrum who think looks is everything. Brother, looks is the first thing, but it's not everything. It just gets you in the door. There are handsome men, attractive men who get left every day, who get cheated on every day, who get used and abused every day. This is where things like your personality does matter. Stuff like your charisma, your confidence, your charm. How can you flirt? All those things. Are you a great person to be around? Do people like being around you? Can you make her feel safe, etc., etc.? These things matter too. It's just that they matter after the looks. If you don't pass the first threshold, the first barometer, you never get a chance, or I won't say never, you rarely get a chance to show, what lies underneath. So they work in conjunction. But after looks, personality, stuff like that, what's on the inside, it absolutely does matter. So please don't be one type of guy who thinks looks don't matter at all. And don't be the other guy who thinks looks is everything, that once they improve their looks, then, their dating life is going to be on autopilot. That can help you short term, but if you want a long term relationship, if you want to be with a woman long term, your looks is not going to be the only thing that makes her stick around. She will stick around for a while, depending on how attractive you are. But if you're missing the internal strength, confidence, you know, um, coherence, competence, all those things that make a man, ambition, all those good things, she is going to leave at some point. So, yes, work on the physical, but also work on the internal. Women need those things to stay with a man long term. You have to have those. Moving on to the third thing, the unfortunate truth is that she's always going to have more options than you. She always will, bro. Another lie that society tries to push down our throats is that men and women are playing on an even field when it comes to dating. Brother, there's a reason why there's currently a male loneliness epidemic. If most people knew just how bad the average Joe was struggling dating wise, they would never, try to narrate this lie that, everyone is struggling, or, men and women are both have the same amount of options. Let's just zoom out for a second, right? And look at this with logic and rationale. There are way more men on dating apps than women, right? We know this. This is fact. We know that women get approached more in public than men get approached by women in public. We know that. More men approach women in public than women approach men. We know more men are shooting their shots in the DMs, hitting girls up online, DMing them, than vice versa. There are more men DMing women than women DMing men. So if they're getting more attention on dating apps, more DMs online, they're getting approached more in public, how can they possibly not have more options than you? How can men have more options than women on average? Right? So therefore, that means you need to act accordingly. You know, you might be talking to one or two girls, but that doesn't mean they're only talking to just you. So you have to behave accordingly. You can't pedestalize or fantasize over any one girl, because she's going to feel that. And over time, it's going to leak through a little bit as neediness and desperation, and she's going to pull back. And then that's basically it. I don't care if you're only talking to one girl. You need to act, you know, act like you're talking to at least three, four, five. You know, she's always going to have more options than you, meaning she can always replace you faster than you can replace her. And I know that's painful for a lot of you, that you don't want to hear it, but that's just the damn truth. If you take, for example, just take a guy and a girl who are, let's say they're both chopped for the sake of argument. Who do you think is going to be getting more attention from the opposite gender? That chopped girl or that chopped guy? Then let's say you take an average looking guy and an average looking girl. Who do you think is going to be getting more attention from the opposite gender again? And then take an attractive girl and an attractive guy. Who do you think is going to be getting more attention? So the bottom line is that they're always going to have more options than you, and that's okay. But don't be gaslit into thinking that, just because you're only talking to her means she's only talking to you. No, especially in the early dating stage. I'm not talking now about a committed exclusive relationship. I would hope and believe that it's just you and it's just her. But in terms of dating in the early stages, let's say the talking stages, you better believe she has way more options that she's exploring than you do, and you need to behave accordingly. I'm not telling you now start talking to 10 different girls. No, but I am telling you, you need to stop fantasizing a whole relationship in your head about her. You need to stop, thinking that she's the one. Maybe she is, maybe she's not, but don't go, all in head first thinking that she's the one when she hasn't even committed to you. You know, take things slow and see where they go, but just know that you are not the only option, and that's okay. You don't need to be her only option. Just make sure you are her best. Just be the best option and she will choose you. This is probably the biggest cope, is that money will fix everything. You hear the guys who say, I'm just going to focus on my money and then I'll worry about women. I'm actually going to probably make a part two to this, just because there's so many more things I can talk about, but I don't want to make this video too long. If you're one of the guys who think I'm just going to focus on my money, forget women, you are sadly mistaken, bro. You need to be working on your money, focus on that, yes, but you still need to be dating. Money doesn't change attraction. You know what I'm saying? You cannot negotiate attraction. It's there or it's not. The guys who try to use money as a cope, they use that to say, I'm just going to focus on getting money. And then when I'm rich, then all the girls will come to me. Yeah, you'll probably still get girls by doing that. But let's be real, it's probably not the ones that you want around you. It's probably not one that you can build a life with or invest in long term. It's just ones who are there for the lifestyle you can provide for them and for your money, not because they like your ass. So you need to not be focused on just money. You still need to be working on your money, yes, but you need to be dating for the experience so you can be vetting and knowing which type of woman you should be with and which you should not. But again, this all boils back to point number one, because looks matter more than society lets on, a lot more than society lets on. A lot of men who fall into this money cope, it's because they're more times than not, they're not the most attractive. So they're like, screw this, I'm just gonna get money, and then when I'm rich, then I'll worry about women. But your money is not going to make her physically attracted to you. That's not going to arouse her. That's not going to elicit primal, urge and desire. Yeah, money might be an amplifier, but that's not going to make her attracted to you physically. So you need to, again, harping back to number one, you need to be working on your looks and working on your money. Don't think money is going to save you. That's how we have so many men in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond who end up getting taken to the cleaners because they thought that their money could compensate for their looks or for, what's inside. They had no personality, no charm, no ambition, whatever. And they think they just have money now, so that's gonna overcompensate for whatever they're lacking. Most men try to use money as a crutch. That's what I'm saying. Please do not do that. Do not lead with your money either. Do not immediately try to woo a woman or win her over with your money. That is not going to make her like you. That is not going to make her physically attracted to you. It's one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves as men, that society even tells us, just stack your bread and then worry about women. And hey, go ahead and do that if you want, but see where that leads you. That rarely works for most men, and there's a reason for that. Money does not equal attraction. Money is just an amplifier, a tool. That's it. But I really hope that you will listen to this video and really take something from it, because so many men are struggling in their dating lives in 2026. And I'm positive one of these, if not more, is one of the reasons why. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. I really hope that you took something from this. Let's really talk about this. Let's talk in the comments. I would really appreciate it if you would like, comment, subscribe, because again, this is just the beginning. I will drop a part 2 of this because there's so many more unfortunate dating truths for men that we tend to try to ignore, or we don't talk about it. And it's the reason why so many men are struggling dating wise. If you liked this video, there should be another one about a similar topic coming up shortly. But most importantly, you are not helpless. You are not a victim. Unplug from the lies and take your power back. Let's get to the other side together.